Soaky Mountain Waterpark is the best water park in all of Tennessee. Located in Sevierville, this park is just a few years old, but they already have a well-rounded slide lineup with multiple water coasters. This is a must for water park fans when they find themselves in the Smoky Mountains, and I'll explain why in this review. The Smoky Mountains is no shortage of attractions between Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg, and Sevierville. This includes water parks. A handful of hotels in the area feature indoor water parks, with the largest of the bunch being the Wilderness at the Smokies. Then you also have a few outdoor water parks too. For years, the most notable is easily Dollywood Splash Country, but another heavyweight entered the ring in 2020. That was the year that Soaky Mountain Waterpark opened, and the owners started big. This park cost $90 million to construct, and it now features one of the strongest water slide lineups in the country. Quite a feat for such a new park. This park is located in Sevierville, Tennessee, just off the main road. This is roughly 20 minutes from Pigeon Forge and 40 minutes from Gatlinburg. Soaky Mountain is actually right across the street from the aforementioned Wilderness at the Smokies. And if you stay at that resort, some room packages include Soaky Mountain, and I believe you can also charge purchases right to your room. Resort guests also get an hour of ERT on select days as well. As of 2023, daily admission costs $48. The park also offers a twilight ticket after 4 p.m. for $8 less. It's nice they offer a reduced rate if you arrive later in the day, but I think you'll need more than just 2 to 3 hours to fully experience this park. Both admission options cost the same in person versus online, so you'll actually save $1 or $2 buying them in person because you don't have that online processing fee. However, definitely buy your parking in advance online. It's $14 online versus $20 in person. Then if you need a locker, that will be an additional fee. These are located towards the front of the park, and they'll cost you $12 to $21 depending on the size you choose. Now let's talk about the arrival experience. Soaky Mountain is fittingly located on a hill. This is set way above the main road, so the park looks absolutely massive from down there. You park and enter the park at the highest point, so you get some neat views at the start of your day. You see a few of the slide towers from the parking lot poking above the hill, but the grand reveal occurs once inside. You have this windy pathway down to the attractions, and the route gives you a fantastic panoramic view of the park. You see all the slide towers with their vibrant, multicolored paint schemes. They all look fresh, as you'd expect for such a new park. There isn't much in terms of theming though, but the overall presentation is strong enough visually to overcome this. There also is not much shade, so make sure to pack your sunscreen or you will burn to a crisp here. The park spans 50 acres, which is a good size for a water park, but despite its size, it is quite easy to navigate. The lower section more or less forms a big loop. My lone visit here took place on a Saturday on Memorial Day weekend no less. We originally expected the park to be packed, but the weather definitely helped us out. It was in the 60s with light rain, not ideal water park weather. This kept a lot of people away, but it was no problem for a New Englander such as myself used to the frigid Maine beaches. The biggest issue I saw with this park were the slow operations. Even on a quiet day, queue lines still built up for a handful of slides. There were 2 culprits. The biggest issue was the weight requirements. A lot of water parks have these on trapdoor slides and water coasters. Soaky Mountain had this policy in those rides, plus any tube or raft slide. So there was a minute or 2 delay between each dispatch since the staff had to take the time to weigh the next party. Definitely check these out in advance on the website to make sure you're not too heavy or too light to experience the slides as well. Second, the slide towers with multiple attractions were not the most efficiently staffed. In some instances, we saw only one staff member working an entire tower, so they would have to alternate between attractions. Add in the weight checks, and several lines moved at a glacial rate. From what we saw, the 2 longest lines by far are for the water coasters, not unexpected for a water park. Even with the cooler weather, both had half-hour waits for a large chunk of the day. I've heard these can exceed an hour on busier days. Therefore, if you arrive at opening, I would start with Avalanche because it's at the front. I would then get a quick ride on Blue Mountain Mayhem because it's right next door. Then I would head to the back of the park for the Edge Dueling Water Coaster. It is worth noting the Snake Den tube slides at the slowest moving queue line in the park the day we visited because there was only one staff member servicing all 4 slides, and they were loading each one individually, so the tower is basically operating at a quarter capacity, plus all those weight checks. I'm hoping that issue was specific to my visit and not a recurring issue. If it is, I would head here right after the edge. Now let's move on to the biggest strength of this park, the attraction lineup. They cover all the main genres, which is mighty impressive for a park this new, and the quality of each slide is decent bare minimum. I'll start with their water coasters. You're lucky if a water park has one of these. Soaky Mountain opened with Avalanche, but it was so popular that the park added a second one in 2022 named The Edge. This is actually the only slide in the park not from Pro Slide, as this one is from Whitewater West. What makes The Edge special is the racing element. You have 2 troughs running side by side. The close proximity really gets your competitive juices flowing. Then you also have 3 drops. The latter 2 offer small pops of airtime. Then the experience finishes with a giant wall element that offers some weightlessness. See my review for more, but this would be a worthy star attraction for most water parks. But the best ride here is still Avalanche. This is one of the world's best water slides. The pacing is phenomenal. You have swift saucer turns, quick uphill ascents, and atop each hill, the water jets that propelled you upwards will pummel you with water, which is super disorienting. Then the forces are strong too. You get some nice airtime here. The hills towards the middle pop you out of your seat at the apex, then a few of the drops offer good airtime as well, particularly the largest one at the end. And that drop also leads to a wall element, the first to ever be featured on a water coaster. So it's a real treat to finish with something like that, getting another dose of weightlessness. I have an entire review in this slide, but the only water coaster I can absolutely say is better is Krakatoa at Volcano Bay. One thing to note with Avalanche though is that the water is downright frigid. This probably isn't an issue on a hot day, but it was borderline uncomfortable on the cooler day that we visited. It is also worth noting their water coasters allow you to ride in pairs or alone unlike most of them. Next to Avalanche is Appalachian Falls, a slide tower holding 2 raft slides. The wilder of the 2 is Blue Mountain Mayhem. This is a tornado wave slide with 2 of those wall elements. These offer some weightlessness, but the drops in them unfortunately did not offer the airtime you usually get in this type of ride. It was cool how this one worked its way down the hill at least. Then Rainbow Revenge is a more traditional family raft slide. This one did not have any real drops, but it was a long and steady downhill descent. You pass through some multicolored rings at points, hence the ride's name, and it has good pace for this type of ride because of some saucer turns. And 2 of the turns will try to tip your raft over, adding in a bit of thrills. Snake Den is a quartet of tube slides that go down the back hill, so you actually have to climb down to get your tube, and then climb all the way back up the hill to ride them, and then you have to climb back up the hill when you're done too. American Racer's Rush is a basic tube slide. Cottonmouth Coils is a similar one, except it mixes in a few tight constrictor turns as well. The other 2 slides are the ones I'd recommend checking out. Timber Rattler's Rage is a trio of mini funnels. These sections are brief but turbulent, offering a nice contrast to the usual series of twists and turns. Then Copperhead Clash is a racing slide. The park was not actively finding another party to race against you unfortunately, but it is a fun course with some flybys and little dips. The final major slide tower is Rocky Top Raceway. This fittingly holds the park's mat racing slide, Splash and Furious. I like the open side-by-side bits to enhance the racing element. I also like how the course is a bit different than usual, and there's a wild turn towards the end that will throw you sideways. This tower also features the park's speed slides. Holler goes straight down. It is fast and smooth, but it's pretty shallow for the genre, so it doesn't offer the airtime you may get on other installations. The better of the 2 speed slides is Whoop. This one is a trapdoor slide. It's always suspenseful waiting for the floor to fall out. While the initial plunge is extremely small for this type of slide, you have a quick series of turns on the way down, one of which is fairly forceful. For kids, you have 2 great options. First is the Hive. This is a big water fortress. You have a dump bucket and all sorts of sprayers, plus some slides. Most of them are small and mild, but there oddly is a bowl slide here. This one doesn't flush you in a deep pool like most of them. Rather, this one stops you in the bowl. Then you get up and head down a small slide to exit. This makes it accommodating even for those who are not strong swimmers. Then towards the back of the park, you have a series of smaller slides, and a few of them are miniature versions of the adult slides. Beyond the slides, you have some other notable attractions. One really neat one was Slippery Salamander. This was an inflatable obstacle course with a series of climbs, slides, and balance features. If you fall, you wipe out into the water. The footage you're seeing is of me triumphantly completing the course. The footage of me wiping out in the lily pads and tightrope are locked in the Disney Vault and will never see the light of day. You also have one of those highly popular flow riders here in Hang, Tennessee. I'm not a big fan of these, but I know people love getting a taste of surfing. Then there's a giant wave pool named Soaky Surge. Waves were of a good size and frequent, and the water was heated, which was much appreciated on such a cool day. Lastly, you have Black Bear Rapids. This is an interesting lazy river. The course is not as scenic as some, but there are some sprayers and most notably, wave action. At select points in the day, a wave machine will send this massive wave through the trough. This will thrust your tube forwards. This happens every 2 to 3 minutes, and it's a neat twist on a familiar ride type. Moving on to the food, this park had more options available than anticipated, but I cannot speak to their quality. I chose to eat a big breakfast and then have dinner afterwards to maximize our time at the park. So do I recommend Soaky Mountain Waterpark? Yes, I do. This is a great water park. It has one of the best slide lineups in the country. Having 2 water coasters alone makes this park noteworthy, and that's especially true when one of them is exceptional like Avalanche. Then you have decent to solid versions of the other key slide genres like body slides, speed slides, and tube slides. Then beyond the slides, you have some other fun attractions worth checking out. I hope the park can find a way to improve their operations in the future, because the slower dispatches are the only flaw I see with this park, particularly if you visit on a busier day. As I mentioned at the start, this is the best water park in the Smoky Mountain area. While Dollywood Splash Country has a better atmosphere, the slide lineup at Soaky Mountain is superior. I would really recommend spending a large chunk of your day here so you can see all the park has to offer. It really is a great water park. So those are my thoughts on Soaky Mountain Waterpark in Sevierville, Tennessee. What are your thoughts on this park? Have you been there? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I would appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you considered subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.